Yeah, that's the thing. Like, immediately after the research, and the woman gets her fucking face ripped off from the chimpanzee.
Also, there's the scientist like comes at her with like an office chair, like he's taming a lion or something.
It's like we're gonna
like throws an office chair at her.
We gotta kill her.
Like that office chair is not gonna help you, son.
Beat her to death with a fucking bar stool. It's like, what the...
Well, hello there. Welcome to On the Beat, the podcast that uncovers full frontal male nudity in cinema. My name is Laura, and I am joined by my co-host, Ryan.
Hello.
Ryan, are you stoked for part 2 of Spooky Penis Month?
I think I was quite excited when we did Night of the Demon.
Right.
Because I think for as much as that film is flawed...
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
Very much so.
I think it's obviously very funny, very entertaining. Now what we're going to do today, we'll see how this the varying levels of Ryan's meh attitudes towards certain films.
Oh my god.
For me as well.
Whatever.
Hey, look. You asked for my opinion. I just gave you it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't even think I did ask for your opinion, but that's fine.
That's fine. I'll just sit here and just not...
Just maybe be quiet for the rest of the episode. As we talk about Danny Boyle's 2002 horror drama, 28 Days Later. Right? Right? This is our second Danny Boyle film. Come on. Don't do this to me. I was kidding. Please. You have to, we've already heard a spiel about Danny Boyle, so maybe tell me anything else you've learned about Danny Boy.
Let's be fair. Like, if you don't want me to talk on this episode, we can just take what I said in the Trainspotting one and then just
transpose it here.
Yeah. So I'll create sentences from what I said in that episode.
I'll learn how to edit, and then I'll just mash them all together and do like a...
Because what you have to remember is that I'm the maker. You know what I mean?
I'm the beauty, you're the brawn. I'm the beauty, you're the brains.
You're the beauty, I'm the beast. Is that how that kind of goes?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Talking of beasts. So, yeah, I probably don't need to say too much about Danny Boyle. We'll get kind of more into, like, kind of the particulars of this film and how it came to be and things. But 28 Days Later is basically sandwiched between The Beach... And what year did The Beach come out?
2000.
Oh, 2000. Okay. So it's sandwiched between The Beach and the film that's made after this, I'm assuming is Millions, right?
Correct.
Which I've not seen Millions.
That doesn't look like the kind of Danny Boyle film I want to see. It looks like it's a feel-good film and I'm not interested.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's probably this is Millions is probably Danny Boyle's Hugo. Which, obviously, Martin Scorsese made that movie, Hugo.
Did you see that?
No.
See? There you go.
Well, supposedly it's pretty good.
I want my Scorsese to be gritty and bloody.
Gritty, bloody, sweary.
Yeah.
De Niro kind of, like, chewing at the scenery.
Absolutely.
Basically telling you, I am this character. I didn't become him, I am him. You know, that's what you want.
What did Joe Pesci say? Was he like, you think I'm funny? Funny like a clown?
Yeah. Or am I a clown? Do I amuse you?
Oh, so fucking good.
I usually say that on a daily basis, just in general. Just kind of like, yeah.
And I'm like, yes.
Cracking jokes. Yeah. So, what comes after Millions, though, is obviously the film I like as well. Sunshine came after Millions. So,
and that's another Alex Garland written film, isn't it?
We're gonna talk a little bit about Alex Garland. In reference to 28 Days Later. But basically, let's put it this way. The Beach comes out, right?
Yes.
I don't think The Beach is a very good film.
We watched that a few weeks ago, and I hadn't seen it since... I was pretty much coming out of my preteen obsession with Leonardo DiCaprio, so this is the time where I had untacked the Romeo and Juliet posters, untacked the Titanic posters from my childhood wall. And then I was like, maybe move on to something else, maybe move on to other men. And so when The Beach came out, I was kind of like, oh, this is fine. I didn't love it at the time that it came out.
Did you see it in cinema?
I would have seen it in the cinema. When did Titanic come out? 97?
Oh, yeah, something like that.
97?
Something like that.
So, I mean, it wasn't that much after I, like, kind of fell out of love with Leonardo DiCaprio, but, like, I wasn't, yeah, it didn't really grab me. Didn't really grab me.
No.
Didn't grab me this time either.
I'm very kind of hot and cold on Leo, to be honest. I like some things he's in. I don't like him in other things.
Yeah, of course.
And I kind of think about, like, the stuff that I do like him in, but that's for another time. But
yeah,
The Beach, I think just because of the character that he's playing, it kind of plays into his strengths as a little bit of a douche. And I'm kind of just
yeah, and he's such a baby face.
Yeah.
It's hard to connect with that character when he looks so young.
Yeah. But, like, in short, I kind of find that The Beach, just as a film itself, I don't know how well received that film is just in general. And I mean, I just find to be a little bit lukewarm on it. I think it has some really interesting and cool things about it.
Oh, yeah. Tilda Swinton is so good.
But, like, from start to finish, I find it fucking annoying.
Yeah.
I don't like the characters, and for the most part, I don't like Leo.
No.
And for the most part, I just don't really care.
Well, you know that he wasn't the first choice for that character.
No, I'm assuming it was probably Mr. McGregor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. And they had a falling out because of this film, because of The Beach.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I think maybe Danny Boyle kind of got wrapped up in the Hollywood thing and the fame thing, and so the studios were pushing Leonardo DiCaprio on him like super hard, and I think he kind of got caught up in that. And
Leo's the hot property at that point, you know, because Titanic at that point is the biggest film ever made.
Yeah,
you know. So people are trying to snatch him up. That's not to say that I think, like, later on, I think Leo becomes a better actor.
Of course,
you know. But yeah, at that time, very specifically at that time, he is like. Yeah, he is the hottest property on the market. So, yeah, maybe Danny Boyle does get wrapped up in it all a little bit. And I kind of feel like you find with, say, a lot of people who start from very kind of humble beginnings.
Yeah.
When the fame takes hold and the numbers start to get a lot bigger, obviously things get inflated. And then I would say egos also probably get involved in that as well. But also they kind of start to lose a little bit of their individuality. So as much as I feel like, you know, there's an identity to this, you know, to The Beach, you don't have the same kind of feeling, say, about that movie than you'd say some of his earlier work that we covered obviously on the podcast as well. So
yeah, of course. Well, and especially with Ewan McGregor, he had worked with him on every film so far. So yeah, I think Ewan McGregor expected to be offered the role in The Beach, and I think that Boyle had alluded to the fact that he was going to give him this role, and he didn't. And McGregor felt like he had the rug pulled out from under him from, like, his best friend.
Let's be in short. Let's say I think The Beach would be far better if Ewan McGregor was in it.
Oh my God.
Much more appealing individual for that film and for that role. But I guess, like, we're talking about The Beach because we're kind of getting into this. You know, we've spoken about Danny Boyle before. We're getting into this kind of he's got the same producer, he's got the same writer. You know, we've got obviously
because that's where this film got pitched. The idea for 28 Days Later was pitched like on the set or just after the filming of The Beach. Okay. Because since Garland wrote The Beach, Garland had been working on a script for fast-moving zombies. And he had pitched it to Boyle and Andrew McDonald. Yeah. And they're like, ooh.
Because that's the thing, like, what we're seeing is kind of a pedigree of this trifecta, right? So you've got Andrew McDonald, who's the producer, you've got Danny Boyle, who's directing, Alex Garland, who's the writer. Dream team. Ish. Alex Garland is, Alex Garland's a best-selling author as well. He wrote the novel for The Beach. Yep. He's writing shit all the fucking time. He's got the idea for 28 Days Later, which is basically just fuel injection into the zombie genre, which is pretty much what it is. And let's say after a slight hiatus from film, by the end of The Beach, Danny Boyle goes in to do a couple of TV films. 28 Days Later is his next, let's say, kind of more foray back into true cinema. Let's just say
it's
that.
almost like he had to go back to his roots and do a little bit of smaller projects because The Beach was a failure.
28 Days Later. I mean, that's nice to say. I mean, he's kind of just like, wow, he's going to come back with this, with a true piece of work. I think 28 Days Later is fine.
I think that we've both come to realize that the more you watch 28 Days Later, with the frequency, as you like to say, diminishing returns.
Massively.
Massively. I still like this movie though, but it's funny because I had it on my Letterboxd rated, and I think I had it as like a 4.5, and then we watched it the other night, and I kind of just clicked it in, like a rewatch, clicked it in as 4.5, and then we started talking about it. I'm like, you know what, I did like get a little bit bored, but it's still important in terms of like the zombie genre of films, to kind of push it past, its roots.
Yeah.
Essentially.
There's going to
give it a new take, which I appreciate.
There's going to be a bunch of me talking about zombie films and the zombie genre in general and kind of how I feel about it. My own personal opinion about it. I remember when 28 Days Later came out, and it was fast, it was frenetic. It definitely, in some level, like stylistically,
very raw.
The main thing is that the zombies, and we call them zombies, but I feel like obviously if you want to delve more into the story, which I think, we'll delve in a little bit more into the story.
Well, they're not zombies.
They're not zombies, no. They're infected is what they refer to them as.
Yeah, definitely, because you have the zombie, and we've discussed this at length.
Yeah.
So your zombie is a supernatural being, right?
Yeah, there's a rising from the dead. Yeah, rising from the grave,
like
to feast on the living.
Right, because I think you had said like hell is at capacity.
So if we're gonna talk about, say, the history of the zombie film, we can go as far back as, say, White Zombie.
Oh.
But then I kind of start the birth, or at least the conception of the modern zombie flick, is obviously when George A. Romero makes Night of the Living Dead, and I think that's 1969.
Okay.
I've not really kind of planned this. That's why I'm kind of just like, yeah.
What?
I'm just, like fucking throwing
you didn't
shit
plan
out
this?
there. No, but
pull
then
it out of your brain.
You've got your phone out.
Yeah.
You can double check for me.
Like wait, like a
Romero's
like a sneaky. Okay, hold on.
Sneaky thing. I mean, we can just hold on.
No, I mean you can keep talking. I'll look it up. You just want the date of.
Yeah, I just want the date of Night of the Living Dead. I just want to know if I'm correct. I think it's 69.
Oh, you know what?
68.
You are yep.
Yeah, 68.
You're so good at that. You're always like either spot on or like 1 year off.
So let's put it this way:
for you.
Night of the Living Dead comes out. I'd say it's a masterpiece of that time. I really like that movie. That movie does a lot of very interesting things, but also it starts to basically characterize and set in place the blueprint for what becomes the modern zombie aesthetic, right? And what we come to expect from a zombie flick moving forward.
Yeah.
And for me, I feel like the genre peaks with his version of Dawn of the Dead.
Right.
Which is in 70...
Okay, hold on.
2 or 3?
I'm going.
1972 or 3, maybe.
Oh, no. You're off.
78?
Yeah.
Wow. Right, okay. So I feel like Dawn of the Dead for me in 78 is the peak of the zombie flick. And everything that comes out after that is a very, very steady decline into mediocrity.
Wow, damn.
Yeah, so that's my personal opinion. I know people love the zombie flick. My issue is I'm fucking tired of it.
Yeah. I mean, I still find this exciting, but, I think maybe after 37 seasons of The Walking Dead, it's like, all right.
Fuck. Yeah. Like,
what else you got?
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything The Walking Dead has done, it is completely highlighted how mediocre you can make the zombie genre
Eating a zombie
from
horse.
the off is like, yeah, like the zombie horse is dead, like well and truly dead. Like he's deader than dead.
Yeah.
Like the deadest horse, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's something about those early Romero movies where it is like the concept of how these beings have come to be is a simple case of like humanity has hit such a rock bottom that hell has filled up to the brim and the dead are now walking on the reality plane, you know?
Right.
And it's unfathomable, it's unexplainable, it's supernatural, it beggars belief, but you know what? It's terrifying just as a concept.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like the concept of zombies, at least, is like, is fairly old, like very early 19th century.
Yeah. There's plenty of mythology to back up the claims of like the idea of the conception of the zombie. So I think going from there, and then we get to 28 Days Later, which is, let's basically say like you're putting adrenaline into a creature that shuffles around and eats your flesh.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
this thing fucking runs around, and it basically just ups the pace.
I like that a lot, and I like the idea of that pitch going, okay, hey, Danny boy, we got zombies.
And he's like, oh,
He's
get
like,
out of my office.
What if...
Get out, Alex.
Wait, just wait.
All right.
What if they ran?
Holy shit.
What is that? Is that your Boyle voice?
That's an English voice.
Oh, I'm not going to even try.
No, don't even bother.
Well, I can tell you what it ended up being if you want to hear the synopsis from Letterboxd.
Let's get to this.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
28 days after a killer virus was accidentally unleashed from a British research facility, a small group of London survivors are caught in a desperate struggle to protect themselves from the infected. Carried by animals and humans, the virus turns those it infects into homicidal maniacs, and it's absolutely impossible to contain.
Bloody hell.
It's long.
That's really long.
It's a bit long.
We could have just kept it to the first couple of sentences.
Yeah,
we didn't really have to go into
You don't have to say how it's carried in the synopsis of the film.
No, you don't really care. Because the thing is like there's not a ton of explanation in the movie itself.
I completely forget the opening of the movie as well. Like with the monkeys and stuff.
With the chimpanzees.
Yeah, forget. Yeah. I forget that that's even a thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always remembered that because that was just kind of how I always remembered the movie opening. But yeah, no, there's the one thing that I can say to the film's benefit is that there's at no point a moment where you feel like everything is properly explained. It's kind of, there is enough there for you to be like, oh shit, like they're testing on animals. This thing gets loose because obviously fucking animal activists have to get involved.
I know. What a bunch of idiots.
Fucking hell. Let's put it this way. They free the chimps. They're not really thinking about it. How they're able to get into the facility, I think, is not really well explained anyway, but
that's fine.
They're there, okay? Let's put it this way. If you try, we might do, but if you try and explain some of the holes that are in this film, yeah, you will find that they start to open up quite widely, and it all
suspension
starts to fall
of disbelief.
It's a movie. You're just watching a movie. You're like, zombies running, yay! Like, okay, so that's what we're here for. So yeah, there's a bunch of chimpanzees, and we find out later, and I don't know if it's actually explained in the film. I don't think it's ever actually characterized as rage, the rage virus in the film.
No, because we don't get any real explanation from any type of authority, because there's no overall authority whatsoever, like telling us anything in the film.
So that's one thing I would say that this film does quite well, is that obviously when society does break down, there is no information. Yeah. And we eventually, when we're introduced to our main character, we're seeing the world through his eyes. Yeah. So to speak. So I mean, there's only one scientist. It's the scientist at the beginning, and he just kind of says, "No, don't do that. You're gonna release the virus," and then it obviously comes up. But
That guy, by the way, is played by David Schneider, and he is
He's in a ton of shit.
frequent character on Alan Partridge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I just wanted to mention that because when I saw him and I remembered, I was like, oh my god.
He's a bunny. Like, he's one of those, he's
he's
one
in
of those
tons.
consummate bit actors.
Not
Is that what it
to
is, that?
and not to take away his importance in the film and how funny he is, but the star of this film is Cillian Murphy, who plays Jim.
Yeah. So I don't know where he's been before he gets into 28 Days Later. I'm assuming this is quite early days.
Oh yeah.
Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, it is. And what's funny is that once again, he wasn't the first pick for this role. Once again, it was supposed to be Ewan McGregor. I guess there was some sort of like scheduling thing, so he couldn't do it. And
I mean, by this time, like, I don't know, did Phantom Menace come out by this point in 2000?
I don't know.
Like, he's Obi-Wan by this point. Ewan McGregor.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah, like, he's Obi-Wan. Like, he's in the stars. Like, quite literally. He's, like, galactically going the extra mile. Like, the amount of fucking stuff that he's been in by this point. So
Cillian Murphy, boom boom.
Cillian Murphy. Well, I think Cillian Murphy's actually pretty decent in this film. He's decent in a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Yeah, because who else is in the cast list? You must have
We've
the cast
got
list.
Naomi Harris playing Selena,
Yes.
I love her. She's so good.
Yeah, she's good in the movie.
Christopher Eccleston plays Major Henry West.
Yes.
Papa Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah.
Papa Gleeson plays Frank, and then a young lady named Megan Burns plays Hannah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's her introductory role, but
I think it is, and I don't think she ever did another film after this. If she did, it was quite small.
yeah.
She ended up like in a goth band
Wow.
later in life.
Okay. What was the golf band called?
I don't know.
All right, okay.
Find her on Instagram, I think. She's
Jeez.
wears
Okay. Well,
goth clothes.
golf club. Well, we'll worry about that later. I love myself a bit of goth rock.
There's a bunch of taglines for this movie as well.
Oh, okay.
There's
what
like
are they?
4.
Okay.
His fear began when he woke up alone. His terror began when he realized he wasn't.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
This one might be more familiar. Mm-hmm. Day 1, exposure. Day 3, infection. Wait, that's wrong. It's like an instant infection.
Well, I remember that tagline.
Yeah, okay, sorry, it's not over. Day 8, epidemic. Day 15, evacuation. Day 20, devastation. But you get infected instantaneously.
Yeah, there's a bunch of,
So that's
again, like, if we're gonna dig massive holes into the script
Just
and
dig
stuff,
holes in this fucking
yeah,
taglines.
then you'll be like, oh, this doesn't really
There's
make
more.
much sense.
The days are numbered. Guess what the number is?
28.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Last one is be thankful for everything, for soon there will be nothing. Yeah.
Some of them are really bad.
It's really bad.
Yeah. I mean, I remember with a lot of the marketing for the movie, they were playing more into the idea of the rage virus and things like that, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's front and center on the poster. Like they are pegging this as an alternate take on the genre, which, if I remember rightly, back in the day when it came out, was distinctive and made me remember it, and it's still stuck in my head to this day.
Oh, the marketing is great.
Marketing, so
Posters are great.
yeah, good for them.
Very recognizable.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's on analysis now. You know,
Yeah.
You know, close to 20 years later. But yeah, we're a little less congratulatory of 28 Days Later. Yeah, because we've already talked about the chimps in the facility, and then that gets the virus out because obviously they get bitten by a chimp.
You know what I do like in that part though, where you've got the chimp like biting that girl's neck, blood everywhere, and she's instantly infected, and then she starts barfing out blood and bile and all this nasty stuff.
That's one of the coolest things I like about this iteration is like how fucking gross that stuff is.
It is so gross and it's so fast.
Yeah, because what you come to realize is that it's it's not so much about like devastating the human race by feasting on their brains or anything like
Right.
that. It's like the virus is very self-aware. So it goes from host to host, and the one way that it transfers it is via liquids. So these zombies vomit all over you.
Yeah,
pretty
it's like
much.
they pin you on the ground. Just blah, blah, blah,
They just
like all
vomit
over
in
your
your face.
face.
Yeah,
So
and it's
gross.
fucked. And what we kind of come to find is like, big, like the incubation rate and all this sort of thing is very slight. And I mean, you know, we wouldn't say we're at the tail end of a pandemic ourselves, but
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. We're certainly closer to the end than we are the beginning. So what you see with this is like this thing spreads like fucking wildfire very fast. So the rage virus is like 20 to 30 seconds.
I think it's even less than that.
Yeah, well, they say they keeps on changing, but they're like Selena goes. They might be infected in less than like 10 seconds or something. So
Yeah.
you have to think fast. you
Yeah.
know, otherwise that fucker's gonna kill you.
Can't pause. No pause.
But that's the thing. Like that's the one thing I really like about this iteration is that it's like they've distilled people's hate and rage. Because like that's the weirdest thing about the beginning of the film is that they've got that chimp like strapped to the surgical table, and he's just watching videos of war and atrocity and stuff to like
basically just videos of humans being humans.
yeah, because
he gets so mad.
That's a direct take from Clockwork Orange. We already know Danny
yeah.
Boyle likes Kubrick, so that's a direct take from that, and then obviously that's it. But I mean, I always thought that was interesting, is it kind of weaponizing people's rage.
Yeah.
So it's like completely unbridled, and it's just running rampant. You know?
Absolutely.
And that's I think that's cool. But also like I think about like the research lab and stuff like that. It makes me think more of like James Whale, like the Dr. Frankenstein movie. It's like their idea of what a lab would look like in the film world.
Yeah.
You know? Like pylons, electricity, like loads of levers and shit like that. Like I kind of look at that and I'm like, oh, okay, that's what that is. And
A little goofy.
it's a little, yeah, it's very kind of
Very dark.
filmy kind of like research lab.
Cages.
Yeah, it's
There's
very,
like a part where you've got a chimp and he's like, his chest is like opened up on a table and it's just like laying there.
Yeah.
I'm like, really?
There's some gross shit in this film.
Like, clean up your station, guys.
Yeah.
Make your notes. Clean it up.
Mm-hmm.
Disgusting.
Because, like, let's put it this way: by the time 28 Days Later comes out, we've already kind of had a take on the zombie idea within like virology. Let's say that. I think I'm saying it correctly.
Okay, yeah.
Because, like, in the video games and things, I think about like Resident Evil.
Right.
Which is primarily, you got a house, they were doing research there, they created a virus. That virus is basically a flesh-eating disease that turns you into a flesh-eating monster or worse, right?
Okay.
So that was also probably something that got me interested in the origins, the viral origins of what this film is depicting.
It is terrifying.
It's scary.
You know?
It's definitely scary. But I think like once obviously they up the pace of it, it's like you've got no time to really think about what you're doing other than you just have to fucking run away from it all. So that's
And he wants them to run fast. He ended up like hiring retired athletes.
Oh really?
He did, yeah.
Wow, okay.
For all of the zombies that like chase them down. Like, you know, football players that didn't have any, you know, they were only doing like ribbon cutting ceremonies for like opening up Tesco's and stuff.
Oh fuck.
I know. So then
Fucking
he's like, oh, they can still be fast. I'll hire them on to run and be zombies in my movie.
Okay. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's immediately the title card.
Yep.
And it's 28 Days Later ...
Yep.
And we're in a hospital room.
Yeah.
Where we're introduced to Cillian Murphy. Now this is the dick scene.
This is the dick scene.
We're already here.
5 minutes and 53 seconds.
Pretty much. Opening of the movie, we are right here.
We're right on top of that dick.
Yeah, so it's
just like overhead shot. You see Cillian Murphy laying on in a hospital bed.
Yes.
Completely alone.
Mm-hmm.
And he's obviously completely naked.
Completely stark bollock naked.
And he's just woken up and we don't know what's happening.
The room's very bright.
Oh, yeah.
There's big windows. 2 secs. I'm drinking tea. I thought it's actually quite early in the day. We can't drink yet.
Can we not? It's 5 o'clock somewhere, Ryan.
That's very true. So the hospital room's very bright. He's like covered in wires and tubes and things. It's very kind of cluttered and busy.
Yeah, he's got like a tube in his arm.
Like a blood, yeah, it's like a blood needle that's giving him like whatever. There's shit
fluids.
Like fluids. He's attached to stuff. They've obviously had to do some surgery on his head because like half of his head's shaved and it's got scars and cuts and stuff on it. But the thing is, he's just lying on top of the covers.
Yeah.
Completely naked.
Yeah. It's almost like they were in the middle of like cleaning him up after surgery or something, because he's not even in a recovery bed. He's in like on a surgical table. Like
no, he's not. He's in a bed.
I know, but he's not like in a recovery room. You know what I mean?
Okay.
He's not like in like, oh, people can come visit you now because you just had surgery and people are coming to visit you. It's like they had just finished sewing his head up. You know what I mean? I mean, he still had that freaking thing in his arm. Mm-hmm. But you still had the table with the tools on it next to him. So like, it's as if this whole wild virus situation had happened like while they were like cleaning him up after surgery, because they didn't even put the sheet on him. They just fucked off and left.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So it's pretty wild, but he wakes up not realizing what's happened, mm-hmm. totally naked, mm-hmm. and just looking around going, oh, hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, so I mean, you see him kind of get out of the bed, like there's no qualms about like what you're seeing. I mean, it's just all there. It just so happens he's naked, he's lying in the bed, and then he gets up.
I mean, like, if you want to show pure vulnerability, I mean, that's a really good way to do it.
Yeah, it does.
Like,
yeah,
and especially like when it's so wide, you have like such an open space. It's not like you're in a kind of closed off, warm space and you're naked and you feel safe. Like, you're naked, you're on a bed, you're completely alone. It's mm-hmm. very bright, very white, and it's so open.
Very sterile.
Like, that's so scary.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
You're like, what just happened?
Why am I here? Why is this happening?
Yeah.
So I do like that. Yeah. But I mean, he gets up, he's pretty much naked. We don't really see too much other than his bare arse, but he's naked, he's walking around just trying to figure
after he gets off the table?
After he gets off the table.
There's quite a few shots of him naked, like kind of fiddling around trying to like figure out what's going on while he's like sitting in the bed.
Yeah.
But yeah, after that it's just
after that wide shot's our only kind of real exposure to his full visage of Cillian Murphy.
Yeah.
The rest of it is him figuring himself out and figuring how to basically get out of the room.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, as the doctors were fleeing or evacuating, they've locked the doors to that room, and they've locked him in, but they've slid the key under the door.
Just hoping that maybe he'd wake up.
In case if he did wake up.
Maybe not hoping, but...
I guess like if he did wake up, because there was no guarantee, and we do find out later on from when he does find his parents, that there was no expectation for him to potentially survive whatever's happened to him.
Wasn't he in a car accident?
I have no idea.
I thought he was hit by a car, and I just have like a vague recollection of that being said somewhere in the movie.
Okay.
That maybe he was like hit by a car.
Maybe.
And and he'd been in a coma for like a while.
Okay. So either way, I don't know. I don't really know.
That doesn't actually make any sense now that I'm thinking about it, because if he had been in a coma, if he had been in a car accident, wouldn't they have done the surgery immediately? And then he would have been in a coma in a recovery bed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are several holes in this story.
Okay.
Suspicion
of disbelief.
Let's put it this way: there was no expectation of him waking up. Surgery has been done to him, but obviously, if there's any sort of time difference or time gap, it's not really explained particularly well. But either way, he does end up leaving the room eventually, and then we're kind of presented with kind of truncating a few things here, because it kind of drags a little bit, because a lot of it's trying to build a sense of tension. But what you're kind of presented with is a completely barren, desolate, and destroyed London.
Yeah.
And that is the one thing I remember kind of taking away from this film when I originally saw it
Yes.
was just how impressive that all looked.
Oh yeah,
That sense of desolation, because obviously anyone who's ever been to London, it's never that quiet.
No.
Ever. We're getting introduced to this dead world.
Yeah.
Through his eyes, and it's impressive.
It is very impressive,
I think
and
it's
it's
impressive.
very scary. He's walking around the city, yelling "hello," and he ends up seeing that like poster wall, which is interesting to me. I don't want to keep. I think the more we talk about it, the more I'm like, how did they? If this happened so fast, how are they printing up flyers and like posting them about like? Did their friends disappear?
Yeah.
I mean, they like got the rage virus and like ran away.
There's.
But it happened so fast. So like, I feel like 28 days. I feel like once that started to spread, it was probably like, I don't know.
Here's the main thing, like the main
Even faster.
The main detriment with how things seem to unfold in the elements of the storyline, is its main detriment is the fact that it's called 28 Days Later.
You can't survive for more than 3 days without water.
Yes.
So like, if this rage virus had like spread through, it doesn't even matter. But like, he couldn't have been laying there in that hospital for more than 3 days.
No, he probably would have died unless what he was being administered via the drip was fluids. Then his body would be able to sustain. I mean,
Maybe.
Unless your body shuts down in a coma, and eventually, it becomes kind of, I wouldn't say self-sufficient, but like if it slows down, if it's not in use. Also, the fact that he's able to walk around that easily from having been in a coma for that long, his legs would probably feel like jelly. So there's.
Anyway,
it's like
we digress.
We did the dick scene, and now we're just like, let's just pick the shit out of this.
You know what? Love the dick scene. It's fine. We can go on for there because I still want to talk about Papa Gleason.
There's a lot of other stuff that's happening because I think like where the dead London goes and then obviously takes a peak is the church scene, and I quite like the church scene.
Oh my gosh, so scary.
Yeah. So
scary when he walks in there, and of course, what does he say?
Hello.
Hello.
Well, he goes up some stairs, and I don't know if this is kind of gauche or kind of a little bit silly, but like someone's painted on the wall, the end is extremely fucking nigh.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
In red paint or
in black paint or something. It's kind of like, okay, whatever. In a fucking church as well. It's kind of just like, huh. It's like, that was a choice.
How ominous.
Like, he's over on the rafters, like, looking down at, like, what would be effectively, like, the congregation, and it's the main pew and things, and he's looking over it, and it's just full of people sat in their seats.
Yes.
All dead.
They're all, like, shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many of them.
Yeah. But the thing is that he makes a noise, and then 2 or 3 of them stand up and stare at him and look at him.
Well, because he yells, hello!
Yeah.
And then the way that they sit up is... it's so scary.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Absolutely
Absolutely
horrible. Look up, and their eyes are so big, and their
Yeah.
mouths are open, and they also, like, sit up and look at him, and they don't move after that.
Mm-hmm.
And
They
they're
just
just
stare
looking
at
at him.
Yeah,
and he's just like, oh, that's weird. I'm like, dude...
Mm-hmm.
But of course, he has no idea what's happening.
Yeah.
So he's just like, I can't even imagine what would be going through your head at that point, where you see all these fucking people sitting there motionless, and they're very dead.
Yeah.
But you can't see their faces.
No.
And then you see these 2 creeps popping up like that.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Well, the thing is...
chills.
Yeah. The thing is, like, that kind of moment, or at least for me, I kind of feel like that moment's a little bit ruined, is when the father turns up, and he's shuffling over, and he's just kind of making a bunch of grunty noises, because none of these people can communicate.
Correct.
With each other. It's just kind of, like, there's just this drive and this, like, potential to, like, spread virus, and they find a host, and that's what they're looking to do, and they're just kind of like, the entire time.
Just, like, swinging their arms around.
Yeah, like, kind of, like a zombie, I guess. So, I mean, goes to the father, attacks him, and then
he hits him in the head with, like, a bunch of cans of Pepsis in a plastic bag.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just like, sorry.
Yeah, and then obviously this is when we realize that the zombies can run.
Yes.
Because they bolt out of that place and chase him.
He gets chased down the street and then gets eventually saved by who we meet is Selena.
Yeah, they blow up a garage.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, that's all right.
Apparently, during that scene, they had permits to blow up that. I don't know if it was like a BP or something.
Yeah.
And I think they had submitted the permits, and so they knew it was like okay to blow up the site. But then they didn't tell the fire station, like the fire brigade. They didn't know. And so the fire station came out, and they're like, "What the fuck is happening?" It was like a big to do.
Silly Billies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're like, "Oh, we got the shot."
You're blowing up the fire, the BP station.
What are
What are
you on
you
about?
doing? You doing, you couple of mugs.
Get a little bit of exposition after that from Selena and from the guy Mark that she ends up chopping up with a machete later on.
Yeah, because he gets infected.
Whoops.
Or seemingly infected. But I guess, like, that's also the thing, is kind of like your moralistic decisions, because, like, decisions have to be made very quickly.
Yeah.
Your moralistic framework is completely changed to the point where you might be able to think about something for a minute. You have a matter of seconds to make a decision.
Every man for himself.
Every man and woman for themselves. So, well, no, Mark does that, makes that joke about the giraffe that goes into the bar.
What is it? Yeah, I don't remember how it went.
So a man walks into a bar with a giraffe.
Yeah.
And the barman asks, you can't leave that lion there. And he goes, it's not a lion, it's a giraffe. Obviously, Cillian Murphy's determined to go find his parents, which he does.
Yeah, who have swallowed a bunch of sleeping pills and wrote him a wee note on it.
Rinsed it down with a bit of red wine. I can think
You know what's interesting is that...
I think of worse ways to go.
Yeah, fair enough. But so they take sleeping pills, but they're on top of the covers in their underwear. So if you're taking sleeping pills, wouldn't you get like all cozied up under the sheets?
I mean...
Maybe get comfortable?
Either way, I don't know. I don't really know.
Like he walks in there and they're very,
rubbery,
thin, gaunt, dead people. Like the mom's like in her undies. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I
don't know, unless they were maybe like, a little bit of fondle.
A little bit of fondle as they,
fondling each other.
It's like that thing where, like men would make the joke about taking an Ambien and seeing if they can jerk off before they fall asleep. You think that's what his parents were doing in that movie? Oh yeah.
Yeah, like the whole basis of everything that's happened to him in the course of this film is entirely based on luck.
Yeah.
And there's not very much we really find out about Jim as a person, just as
no, we don't know anything about him.
Absolutely nothing.
I feel like he doesn't even say much.
No.
All he's really afraid of that we get from him is that he's afraid of being left. He doesn't want to be alone. So. No.
Yeah. What a desirable character trait that is.
Desperation.
A sap. Yes, like I thought. So we find the parents, and I'm gonna try and truncate a bunch of this stuff because
I just want you to get to Papa Gleason.
Okay, so we get to Papa Gleason. So we meet Gleason and his daughter, and obviously this is what begins the expansion of our crew.
The road trip
for the story, yeah, because the movie falls into quite kind of tropey, like zombie flick stuff, and I kind of feel like it feels the need to like tick all of these boxes. They're going to find it's directly taken out of Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, they think that the military can save them.
Well, no, it's like we're going to go to the island. We're going to go to the island that has the salvation. So we're getting on boats, we're getting on helicopters, we're going to this island that's untouched by the problem, right? Okay.
There's that one scene also when they're driving into the country, and there's that shot of like all of the field of flowers. It looks like a Van Gogh painting.
Yeah, it looks weird.
It does look weird, but it's also like kind of cool. I kind of liked it.
It looks like a stock effect, like an emboss.
I'm gonna talk about it, but like the saddest part of the movie with the Papa Gleason, you never want to let him go. But
no,
it is the saddest Every time I think about this movie,
Incredibly unlucky.
when I think about this movie, I think about Cillian Murphy's penis, and I think about Papa Gleason and that one drop of blood.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking. Because then he just says to his daughter, he's like, oh, you know I love you, right? And she's like, yeah, what's your problem? And then he's just like, I'm enraged man.
Yeah, I'm
a zombie.
I'm a big angry Gleason.
Well,
yeah, we're in truncation mode. So.
Well, eventually, this whole film kind of turns into a different kind of survival film for Selena and Hannah. That's her name.
Yeah,
the daughter.
Yeah, keeping it brief, they basically meet the cast of dog. Sorry, carry on.
The cast of what?
Hold on.
Dogma?
Shush.
The cast of Dogma.
I was like, what the
like
fuck?
Ben Affleck.
No, it was like,
Matt Damon show up.
I was like, oh, I've written this down. I think it's a good joke, but here we go. No, so basically, like to like keep it short. Fucking hell. Fuck you. What
Go
the
ahead,
fuck?
tell me the joke.
So. Basically, what happens is they meet the cast of dog soldiers at this mansion, right?
Oh,
yeah, see,
boom.
They are. Because one of them's like, fucking hell, he bounced. Because they've got, like, mines and stuff, like, out in this field. So, like, when the infected start running down, like, one of them hits a fucking mine and then hits another one. He's like, fucking hell. And then it's... What you find, these folk are scumbags.
I don't know. Like, they don't have anybody else there. Like,
this is the
Jim, Selena, and Hannah are the only people that they have in this place.
Well, the problem is I think, and what we find out when one of the soldiers and Jim go to get executed is they've been doing this to quite a number of different people who have obviously come out and been there, so they have not agreed with what they're trying to do.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
There's just like bodies out in the woods.
Yeah, there are. And there's women as well.
Yeah. Because, like, let's put it this way.
I wouldn't have expected that because of how they're treating Selena and Hannah. Like, I wouldn't have expected them to execute women.
Yeah, well, again...
Because they're trying to bone them.
Yeah, well, 28 Days Later is literally like
Unless they bone them and toss them.
Yeah, it's like a block of Swiss cheese. Like, you can just fucking stick your fingers in any of these holes and you're just kind of like, oh, it doesn't really make any sense.
Gross.
Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, right? Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. So, yeah, pretty much like these group of soldiers, I say in quotes.
Yeah, exactly.
They're deciding they're going to create their new world order, effectively, like try and rebuild society.
Yeah. Their fucked up utopia.
And like I think Christopher Eccleston does it really well. I just kind of feel like the title of the film is 28 Days Later, and society has delved into such a level of chaos that this group of men, their mentality over the course of 4 weeks, right? Only 4 weeks, is to kidnap and hold prisoner women so that they can impregnate them to help repopulate the land, right?
Yeah.
And any voice of reason they don't fully comprehend. So their whole thing is like, which is kind of makes us kind of wonder, is like, are they actually soldiers or are they just fucking psychopaths?
That's what I wondered as well, because they didn't act like soldiers.
Yeah.
And they acted like maniacs, or they're stupid.
They're kind of ridiculous.
You know, like there's no sense of order there whatsoever.
The thing is, like, I mean, it just like, I don't know about anybody else, but like if you're put in a situation like that, your main concern is survival. It's not taking women and having sex with them against their will to impregnate them. Certainly not after the course of 4 weeks, and certainly not over the course of 2 months, which is probably the maximum amount of time that this could possibly have been going on for.
I wasn't even necessarily thinking that they were trying to like impregnate them or anything. I was just like, oh, they're rapey.
Potentially,
they're rapey bros.
Eccleston does actually say that.
That they're rapey bros?
Yeah, Christopher Eccleston says that to Jim when he's talking about, like, we're going to start a new world, basically.
Oh.
You know what I mean? They're like...
No, I thought you meant that they... Anyway, yeah.
Well, that's his justification for what they're doing.
You guys don't.
But he's also like, I promised them women.
It's like extra...
It's like, what?
You know, more information than I cared for. Like, I'm just giving me some more violence and let me get on with this movie.
And this is like, again, like, this is all, I feel like this isn't so much Alex Garland problem in the writing. I feel like this is more a Danny Boyle problem in the writing.
Because this part's also very scary, and this is like, I mean, from a woman's perspective, more scary than getting vomited on by a zombie. Like, I would rather get vomited on by an infected person than be at the hands of a bunch of rape-crazy soldiers.
But again, this is another trope as well. It's like, where's the real threat? Is it from the mindless infected who are constantly at your door, or is it from your fellow
Society.
man, your fellow human beings?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, who are like, there is no society. You know, they're totally cut off. They're like, if their own moral framework, their own moral code is eroded, and they are like operating on instinct effectively. So we forgot to kind of explain is that they've kept a hold of one of the officers who got infected, and this is a direct rip from Day of the Dead, where they keep a hold of an infected individual in order to study them.
Yes.
But then Christopher Eccleston's kind of like, well, it's not so much that we're studying them, we're trying to figure out how long the thing will survive.
Yeah, without eating, I guess.
Like,
it's not like they eat.
Well, they don't eat and they don't drink. So he's trying to figure out like how long it takes for them to starve to death.
Yeah.
And it's one of the fellow officers. So obviously Cillian Murphy sets this bastard loose, causes chaos, and Cillian murders the worst of the most, let's say, the rapiest.
Yeah, the rapiest officer.
The rapiest officer of the group, and smashes his fucking head in and pushes his eyeballs into his skull. He pushes
his eyeballs right into his head.
Yeah.
I was freaking out.
All of the other soldiers are dead. They get in the cab. They get away from them. Unfortunately, Jim gets shot.
Yeah, but he's fine.
Yeah, it's totally inconsequential.
Yeah.
But it pertains more towards like the alternate endings.
Right, of which there are 3.
And effectively, they end up in the country. They've got this house. You get to see like what's happening to the infected. Like they are eventually kind of dying off.
Yeah.
Because they aren't gaining sustenance. But also that sense of like they're not gaining sustenance, but they're surviving for at least another 28 days.
Yeah.
Because we see the title again.
Yeah.
So not only is it 28 days later, then it's another 28 days later after Jim is shot and seemingly survives in this version of the ending. And they're creating a giant sign. That's the happy ending.
The other 3 endings were basically where, because Jim gets shot regardless, and then they try to save him. Second alternate ending is where you basically have that scene of them. There's
what they call the radical.
Well, I didn't say the other one where they instead
sorry.
of having the 3 of them at the cottage at the end, they basically just don't have Cillian Murphy there.
The radical alternate ending,
which was not shot,
but it was I guess planned to some degree. It was written and it was storyboarded and stuff, and we kind of watched an animatic.
Yeah, you guys can see it on YouTube. Just
see on YouTube, or if you.
I think it's worth watching. I thought it was.
It's
very
on the
interesting.
DVD. It's on the DVD.
Oh right.
It's 100% on the DVD because that's where I saw. I saw the original. I saw the original. I saw the alternate endings on the DVD.
Oh, okay. I hadn't seen those before.
Yeah, there was a point where I thought this film was quite good.
But I thought that if they had worked a little bit harder on how to figure out how to cure it, then it could have worked. And I feel like they just kind of gave up.
Well, I feel like that's a Danny Boyle problem.
Like he just gives up at the end?
He just kind of gives up towards the third act. Like, it just kind of falls apart and stuff. But also you kind of see that with Danny Boyle's later film, Sunshine. It's very interesting. Up until the point where the third act starts, all fucking falls apart.
There is a point where Alex Garland actually says in an interview that he doesn't think he's ever going to work with Danny Boyle again because of how often he feels like he's fucked up the end of his movies. And I'm not quoting him or anything, but that's kind of what he's gleaning, like what I gleaned from like these conversations.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, well, and he looks like butthurt about it. Like he seems really annoyed at like the relationship that he thought that he had with Danny Boyle. It was just wasn't working for him anymore.
The look of 28 Days Later
really puts you in the action.
Yeah. It's very close. It's very stylistic. It's shot primarily on mini DV cameras, standard def, and it has this very kind of dirty, gritty feel about it. Shot on Canon XL1Ss, which to me, I remember back in the day, there was always this thing, because I've shot Muni DV, I had a Canon XM2. Still easily, to this day, Canon XM2 is like one of the best cameras that's ever been made. Still used now. Yeah. It's a fantastic camera. And I had one.
Did you know that James McAvoy auditioned for one of the roles in this film?
Okay.
But he accidentally auditioned for one of the zombies. And he didn't realize that like what he was going up for. And I think he wrote on his CV that he can do backflips. And Danny Boyle looked at it, he goes, "Oh, you can do a backflip?" And he's like, yeah. And so he did a backflip for Danny Boyle, and he never heard from him again.
That's pretty funny.
That was my little tidbit that I had.
That's pretty funny.
Also, Cillian Murphy, this is the only film that I have found of his where he gets naked.
Oh, okay.
So far.
Yeah.
So far. This is only one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a real Peaky Blinder.
Oh, boom!
This is a thing that you find, like, with people at comic conventions and things like that they're like, what would your zombie plan be? Like, and I worked at an axe place.
Yeah.
For a while, where, you know, for whatever reason, people were like, I'm ready to, the zombie apocalypse, and you're throwing axes at bits of wood, and it's like, you don't want to step in to correct them and how asinine the comment itself is, but like, you kind of like, what would your zombie plan be? And I ask you, Laura, I'm asking you, it's probably one of the most fucking idiotic questions in the world, but what would your zombie plan be?
Well, I think about gear. I think about good shoes with support, if possible. Okay. So a nice pair of running shoes.
Well, what would be your weapon of choice? I think so. Like, effectively, all you've told me is you're gonna have a good pair of shoes, and maybe have a bag. What would be your weapon of choice? I didn't mention a bag, but well, what would you put your stuff into?
I would need snacks.
Pockets.
I would 100% need snacks.
Right.
In the bag. Okay, so bag full of snacks, a good pair of shoes, and I'm thinking first thing that came to mind is a good baseball bat.
Okay.
I think a baseball bat is good because it's blunt, it's hard, and you can hit someone in the head. You don't have to be too close to them.
Okay.
I don't think a gun will work, and also that's the problem with the gun is that you'll run out of bullets.
So here's my zombie plan.
Yes, sir.
Right? They've got like this elaborate plan. They've got their weapons, their bags, all this sort of thing. For the most part, you're going to die of diarrhea before you even get to that point anyway. So get yourself some pills, get yourself a bottle of red wine, find yourself a nice comfy bed.
Take your pants off.
Just do yourself like Jim's parents did.
Let's see. Would you recommend this movie?
Yeah, I think there's some value to it still. I just kind of feel like, obviously, in the time that this was released, we're only just kind of beginning the stages of oversaturation of the genre. So it's maybe more that my opinion is has been salted due to the oversaturation of the genre.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Back then, it felt quite fresh and interesting. You
Definitely.
Look at it now, it's like it just ripped a bit from here, ripped a bit from there, put it all into a kind of blender, and then they used the blender and charged it with like 15 car batteries, so it like goes like 4 times faster than it needs to be. For as fast as the zombies moved, I wish the plot moved as fast as the zombies did. That's my main gripe with the film. Is it's just a little bit too slow and plodding.
Yeah.
And I wish it was a little scarier as well.
There's some parts that I found very, very off-putting.
Unnerving, yeah. I think the world building's pretty good. And I feel like there's a sense of realism about like how society would just kind of start crumbling and falling down. But for the most part, it's, there's some questionable and flawed kind of decisions in the storytelling, which I kind of feel like are a little bit more glaring when we kind of look at it a little bit more analytically. But yeah, I think the film's fine. I can understand its importance of the time and stuff. So that's why I gave it a 3.
Okay. Yeah, I would also recommend this movie, but I gave it a 4.
Yeah.
Because I still like it quite a bit. Watching it every few years, I'm fine with. I'm not going to be mad about it. There's a lot of stuff that I like. I like Papa Gleason. I like Cillian Murphy.
Yeah.
Naomi Harris, I think this is one of her very early roles, but she's wonderful.
Yeah, everyone plays their part really well. Just kind of wish the material was a bit stronger than it is. Or if it was trying to be fresh and different, it didn't pinch so much from other films that in the genre that did it better.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
And I think for my rating for the dick scene, I gave it a 4.
Okay.
I gave it a 4, and now I'm like, oh, is that too high? I'll just
But
leave
for
it.
visibility and context?
Yeah.
I mean, you see it all, so why wouldn't it be a 5? And it makes sense
Because he's not given.
context-wise.
I mean, I don't know. I just don't feel like it's not terribly close either.
Are you giving it a 4 because it was shot in mini DV and the standard definition
I wanted to see it in high def.
720 by 564 or something. I think that's what the
Sure.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see it in 1080p.
Or is it 462 or something? Yeah, either. I mean, I don't know. That's me kind of nerding out on like aspect ratios and that's like screen
you and your
resolutions.
aspect ratios.
Hey, look. It's
What?
fine.
What?
Yeah.
I give it a 4. I don't know. I think a 4 is fine.
Okay. And that's
I
for
could see
context
more.
as well?
Sure. I like to push them together.
Okay.
Visibility and context together.
Well, I think what I said was quite funny about it being a standard definition, so I think giving it a 4 is adequate. I
Great.
think it's fine. I do question, and I will continue to do this from episode to episode. I do question, why is he naked in the bed? Why did it so happen that like he's on top of the sheets as opposed to having the sheets on top of him when he was left over? Like when all those nurses and that ran out of that room and they were just like, what were they doing? Were they just lifted the covers off and they was like, he's naked.
Yeah, and then they just threw the sheet and ran away.
Yeah, and it was like rage, and then it was like
yeah.
So there's some questionable things there. I mean, there's a obvious reason why he's naked. It's to show his vulnerability.
Right, but yeah, why they would have done that in a
newborn
surgical setting?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, reborn into this
like
new
a
world.
newborn. Yeah. So I'm assuming like there's some kind of element of that like put in there, but yeah.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I say knock a point off for. I'm not fully convinced. And I knock a point off because it's shot in standard definition as well, so it could be clearer.
Well, thank you so much for being here with me today, Ryan, and hating on 28 Days Later. I'm just kidding. We didn't hate on it. I still like it.
No, I gave it plenty of praise. Balance. That's what it is. I'm not just going to roid out, just like rage about fucking 28 Days Later. It's not my fault it's badly written.
Make sure to follow us on the social media pages on Instagram. Write us some comments. Tell us, send us a little message. Tell us what your zombie plan would be,
Yeah.
Would you be naked?
Laura will read them.
I will.
I'll just hate them. So that's fine.
When I put a little heart next to it, you're just going to unclick it.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to delete
fuck
it.
You.
Yeah, I'll delete it and block you. That's what's gonna happen.
No followers on the medias.
No. Yeah, we don't need followers. This is just for us.
It's obviously at on the beat BiTTE for dicks. And stay tuned. For a couple weeks from now, we will be dropping our 3rd spooky penis movie.
Yeah, the fog might roll in again.
But we're not going to do the fog.
There's no dicks in the fog.
Exactly.
Well, the thing is, it's so foggy, you might not be able to see those.
Ooh, spooky, foggy dicks.
Leper pirate dick. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, thanks again for being here. I have been Laura.
Yeah, I've been Ryan.
And we'll see you on the other side.
Yes.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Ooh.
When there's no more room in hell, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.